And we are back. FPL is live once again for a brand new season, and today's video is going to be me picking my first starter squad. Now, before we get into it, the Esso99 League will be returning for a brand new season as well, so to make sure that you get yourselves involved, the league code will be available on your screen now. It will also be available in the comments and in the description of this video with the link for you to sign up for the new league. We had a whole host of you joining last year, but our subscriber count has more than doubled since this time last year. So hopefully we can get a whole host of brand new faces into the Esso99 League as James Morris looks to defend his title. Now, and also before we get into this, if you do enjoy playing some fantasy football and you enjoyed last year's FPL series, please let me know by dropping a like on this video and subscribing to the channel. We're going to have a whole host of FPL content for you once again this season. And let's just get straight into the team. Now, as you can see, my team is currently blank. I have just got the auto pick squad removed right now. I have to say, the auto squad, as always, has produced a fairly decent team, and it'll be interesting to see what would happen if I did just click that auto fill once again and saw what happened. But I already have a team in mind. I've already put a first draft together, and today I'm going to be putting that team together for you and explaining my reasons for it. So we'll start with the goalkeeper, and we'll go for my more expensive goalkeeper first. I am going to start with Emi Martinez of Aston Villa. At the moment, it looks like he is going to stay. There was a lot of speculation at the start of the summer that Emi Martinez might actually be leaving Aston Villa with his demands to play Champions League football, given the fact that, of course, he was the World Cup winning goalkeeper. But as things stand today, it looks like he is going to be staying at Aston Villa as they look for both Premier League and Europa League successes this season. You've also got to look at his fixtures and say, yes, he's got a tough one away to Newcastle in his opener, but then games against Everton and Burnley are much more favourable for him. Plus, I just think in general, Aston Villa are due for a very good season. They've signed very well in the market so far. They would have finished second if the season would have started when Unai Emery took over, and I just think having a goalkeeper like Emi Martinez in your squad when they've got some nice early fixtures is a very good pickup to have. My second goalkeeper is going to be my first new signing of this season, and that is going to be Mr. Verbruggen of Brighton, the 21-year-old goalkeeper signed from Anderlecht. I'm pretty confident he is going to be Brighton's main man in goal this year. They wouldn't have spent the money they spent on him if he wasn't designed to be their main goalkeeper. An awful lot of hype around him. A lot of big clubs across Europe were interested in him. But it is Brighton that he has chosen as his destination. And the style of goalkeeper that he is exactly the sort of goalkeeper Roberto De Zerbi was looking for. He's one that I think is going to be an FPL great for the next probably 4 or 5 years if he stays at Brighton or potentially then moves on to an even bigger Premier League club. He's coming in at 4.5 million. And look at those opening fixtures. Luton, Wolves and West Ham. A very, very good, cheap pickup to get early on in terms of a goalkeeper. Moving into the defence, and we are going to start with the most expensive defender, and that is, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think at the start of every season, you've got to give Trent a chance. Now, obviously, I went for him last year, and that turned out to be a mistake, but I think the way that he's going to look to play this season, the way Klopp is going to look to use him, is going to be in that auxiliary role. They're talking about a 3-2-3-3 or something, or 3-1-3-3, however it works in terms of the numbers. Not really quite sure how it works on the pitch. I've not seen Liverpool play enough, but Trent is essentially going to be playing as a midfielder from the right back position. So I think he's certainly one you have to have in your team. You look at his results on the back end, his final 10 games of the season, he got 7 assists and a goal. So I think the way Liverpool are going to look to start the season, yes, they have some tough fixtures, I know, but Trent is just goals and assists basically guaranteed. And obviously, if he gets those clean sheets, when he does that, you're looking at massive points from Trent once again. Speaking of defenders that play in midfield, my second defender is going to be John Stones. I think he is the best option looking at Man City. If you actually go to Man City's defenders, you will see that John Stones is not the most expensive because they've put Cancelo back in there. I cannot see Cancelo starting for Manchester City this season. I think he'll be moved on before the season gets started. I did look at Ake at 5 million, but with the eventual or inevitable signing of Gvardiol coming, I think Ake is now a bad pick. Akanji isn't bad at 5. Ruben Diaz at 5.5 is also fantastic. But the reason I'm going to go for John Stones is, like I say, he is the man that is making that movement in and out of midfield, which means he is the most likely to be the most consistent starter for Manchester City this season. Also, the fact that he does move into midfield, which is going to mean he is more directly involved in the build-up play and in terms of the initial break-up play, which makes him a lot easier to build up those bonus points for defenders as well. So I think for me, John Stones is an absolute must-pick for the start of this season until, Man City make their necessary changes and develop their system for this season. But I think they'll certainly be starting with John Stones in that CDM/centre-back role. And speaking of bonus points, the man I'm going to go for next is William Saliba, who obviously does not play for Man City. He plays for Arsenal. And I spoke about Saliba at the start of last season. I said he is guaranteed to be a bonus points machine. And yes, obviously he picked up his injuries. But if you go to all players and then sort by points per game, which is down here somewhere, points per match, you will see that in defenders, only Kieran Trippier got more points per game than William Saliba. Now, I know a lot of people are putting Pervis Estupiñán in their teams, fairly and rightfully so. For 5 million, Estupiñán is a great pickup. I've obviously already spoken about Brighton when it comes to going for Verbruggen, but that is why I've gone for Verbruggen, because he is even cheaper than Estupiñán. But considering that William Saliba is also available for 5 million, I think this is the 5 million option that you need to be going for the whole course of the season. If you want to say, right, I'm going to put Estupiñán in for the first couple of weeks, then transition to Saliba, I can understand that. But I like to always try and build my teams for a longevity rather than just those initial quick points. So William Saliba comes into the team. Then comes my first Manchester United player. There wouldn't be an Esso99 video without some Manchester United talk, and I'm going to go for Luke Shaw. He is the most guaranteed to play, I think, and again, the most consistent point scorer. I was very, very tempted by Aaron Wan-Bissaka, especially at 4.5 million. He is definitely one that you could go for. Maybe say you go for him and then Estupiñán, because my last defender option is going to be a 4 million defender. So monetary-wise, it could make more sense for me to go for Wan-Bissaka and Estupiñán. I still may end up going for that, but right now I am going to go for Luke Shaw, because obviously he takes corners, he takes set pieces. Again, very much a bonus points machine is Luke Shaw. So I think he is going to be a very good choice this season. And finally, it's going to be my first Luton Town player of the video, and that is going to be Amari Bell. Only coming in at 4 million. He is the cheapest defender on the game. He plays every single game for Luton, either in the left centre-back position of the back three or the left mid/left wing-back, depending if you call it a back three or a back five. Very, very good going forward. He is Luton's most consistent defender available. The reason I say that is Thomas Lockyer hasn't signed his new deal at Luton Town yet. I'm hoping that he will. If he does, and he comes in at 4 million, I would be suggesting Lockyer ahead of Amari Bell. But right now, I think you have to go for the Jamaican at 4 million. But like I said, I could potentially change that to go for Wan-Bissaka at 4.5 and then Estupiñán at 5. That may end up being a slightly better option. That will round off the defence. Let's now move into the midfield, and we will set things back to normal as we go for total points. Now, I'm not going to go for a massively expensive midfielder. I will explain my reasons behind that once I get to the end of the midfield. And clearly, I'm going to go for a very expensive one or potentially even two strikers when we get later on. But I'm going to start with Starboy himself, Mr. Bukayo Saka, at 8.5 million. I don't think we need to say too much about Saka. Yes, Odegaard got more points last season. I think he will be sharing a lot more of the goals and assists with Kai Havertz in that midfield role this season. It remains to be seen. Obviously, Odegaard is Arsenal's captain. He did get more points. But I have to look at Bukayo Saka, think that still at 8.5 million, that's a good price for a player that got over 200 points last season. Martinelli, of course, only 4 points behind Bukayo Saka, and he's 0.5 million cheaper. He was our cheap pickup last season. But I'm going to go for Saka for no other reason that he actually takes the penalties as well. So he's just got that little bit extra chance of getting more goal-scoring points. So I am just going to go for Bukayo Saka. Next to him, I'm going to go for another 8.5 million man and another Manchester United player, and that is going to be Bruno Fernandes. Now, I know a lot of people are looking at Bruno for this season, and rightfully so. How he can go from a season where he got 151 and then got reduced to 10 million, then gets 176, gets more points than the previous season, and still gets a massive reduction in price. I don't quite understand that. But, I mean, 8.5 million for Bruno Fernandes. He got 8 goals and 9 assists last season. I'm pretty confident Manchester United are going to be signing another striker this season. I think we are still on the up and up. I know I'm been a little bit cautious about United recently in my recent videos, but Bruno Fernandes is going to be very heavily involved. I obviously know he's going to be taking free kicks. He's going to be taking corners. He's going to be taking penalties. He's going to be heavily involved. And I think 8.5 million for Bruno Fernandes is an absolute steal. Next up, we are going to go for 3 £6 million midfielders. And I'm going to start with someone who has been on absolutely phenomenal form recently. And that is this man, Morgan Gibbs-White. Probably the player of the tournament in the under-21s. I'm pretty confident he's going to win that award come Sunday. But look, you have to look at his stats from last season. 5 goals and 12 assists for Morgan Gibbs-White. And he's getting better and better with every single game. A lot of those goals and assists came towards the back end of the season. Yes, Nottingham Forest do have a tough start to the season. Arsenal, Man United and Chelsea as their first 3 away games in their opening 4. And then Man City away as their 4th away game as well. But I have to look at that Sheffield United at home game, that Burnley at home game, and think that Morgan Gibbs-White is good for some points in those matches. And like I say, he's only 6 million. He doesn't have to be in the team on a much more regular basis. He comes in when we need those points from those Nottingham Forest games. And I just think he's such a good pickup. He got 145 points last year. You combine the points of Morgan Gibbs-White with, say, a Kara Mitoma, who is 6.5 million, and you compare that to Mohamed Salah, those two combined got nearly 50 more points than Mohamed Salah for the same price. Now, granted, obviously, you're using 2 players to do that, but you're splitting the budget around good options if you choose to do that. Next to Gibbs-White, I'm going to go for a West Ham man, and that is going to be Lucas Paquetá. Again, a player that performed incredibly well at the back end of last season. West Ham obviously are going to get a lot of money in for Declan Rice, and I think they're going to use that to improve their squad even more. Paquetá is going to be a key player for West Ham this season. I truly believe that. Obviously, Jared Bowen is also available for 7 million, so that's when you can sort of, again, do those slight adjustments with your budget. Like I said about Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka, I could potentially say Shaw out, Wan-Bissaka in, Paquetá out, Jared Bowen in. But for me, 6 million for Lucas Paquetá is, again, too cheap of an option to turn down. And finally, we're going to make our way back to Aston Villa, where we started this video, for the third and final £6 million player. And that is going to be Emi Buendia, who, again, since Unai Emery took over, has been a regular starter, a regular contributor with goals and assists. And like I said, I think Aston Villa are due for a very good season once again. And I think Buendia is going to be a key part of that. He's going to be one of those players playing off of Ollie Watkins. He's going to be heavily involved, as I just said, in chance creation. And I just think, again, 6 million for a player that good is too cheap to turn down. So I'm going to ignore the Brighton midfielders. I know a lot of people are looking at them. Mitoma, Gross, Solly March, all around that 6 million, 6.5 million mark. But for me, these are the cheap midfielders that you need to be looking at for the start of this season. That then brings us to the strikers. No surprises that my first striker is going to be the big man himself, Mr. Erling Haaland. I didn't pick him last year, and obviously I ended up having a horrific start, and everyone who picked Haaland flew away with it, and it was too much ground to catch up. All I would say at this point in time is that last year Haaland was 12, this year Haaland is 14, and also 82% of people have already picked him. So you can make the argument that you have to have him, otherwise you're going to be left behind, like I was last season. The only thing I would say is that if you're looking at all-round budget and you think Haaland is too expensive, Harry Kane is 1.5 million cheaper, and he only scored 9 fewer points than Erling Haaland. Now, as it looks right now, it looks fairly certain that Harry Kane is going to stay at Spurs. So if you want to save some budget, I think it is still potentially worth the risk of leaving Erling Haaland out of your initial team and going for Harry Kane. However, I'm not going to do that myself because fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I cannot afford to not pick Erling Haaland 2 seasons running and expect to do well. So I am going to go for Erling Haaland. I'm going to ignore Harry Kane because I now do not have the budget to afford him. And my second player is going to be my second new signing of the video, and that is going to be Christopher Nkunku. This is a very, very good player. I have seen him play a few times for Leipzig in the Champions League and the Bundesliga, and I've seen him on a couple of occasions for France as well. He is so, so talented. I think he is made for the Premier League. He is going to cause all sorts of problems for Premier League defences. He takes free kicks. He takes penalties. He's going to be very heavily involved in the attacking third for Chelsea. And look, I think Chelsea are due for a big revival this season, and I think Nkunku could be the superstar that gets it all going up front. And I think at 7.5 million, I think that is a fantastic bargain for him. He's obviously a risk, but like I say, a £7.5 million risk when the likes of Wilson, the likes of Watkins, the likes of Isak are all around that price as well. I think you can take a risk on Nkunku, knowing that if it's not working after the first couple of weeks, you've got all of those good options around and available for you as well. And finally, with the remaining 6 million, I'm going to go with a man that I have spoken about an awful lot on this channel, and a man that I would still love to see as Manchester United's main striker this season. And that is going to be, of course, Evan Ferguson, if I can find him. There he is. That is the remaining 6 million. I really think this guy's the real deal. I don't think I need to say much more about him. Go and watch any of my other videos that I've spoken about when it comes to Manchester United signing him. 6 million is an absolute bargain. My only concern is obviously they have signed João Pedro this season, so he could play instead of Ferguson. But I just think he is going to play. I think he is too good not to play. I think De Zerbi believes in him, and I think he is going to be Brighton's main man at the start of this season. So 6 million for Evan Ferguson, I think he's an absolute steal. And yeah, that is my completed team for now. As I say, if you think that you can build a team that is better than my initial team, please feel free to join the Esso99 League. I'll put the league code on screen again for you now. So make sure you are getting involved for the new season. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments the teams that you've picked as well. I know people are starting to put their initial drafts together. This is what I am going to be going for. As it stands, inevitably, I will change the entire team before fantasy football actually kicks off. But this is what I'm going with on day one. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.